Hello and welcome to the Amazons. My name is Aisha Falude. Today on the program, we are discussing fertility, surrogacy, alternative motherhood. What is surrogacy, you may want to ask? It is simply someone carrying someone else's pregnancy and giving birth to a child that is not for the carrier of the pregnancy, but for somebody else. In the past, women who had fertility issues or were past a certain age could consider alternative method of carrying a child. That is either by fostering or by adoption. But these days, couples can decide that even without fertility issues, but for some other reasons that are sometimes personal, they may want somebody else to carry their own child. This is a topic that we have to discuss. Lillian, who is my co-anchor.
Hello, my name is Lillian Imoni. And as I was listening to you, I have also, come to realize that, it's now become a very acceptable way of having children in our society. I mean, a lot of people are open to surrogacy these days, especially when a woman finds out that she cannot naturally give birth herself. There are other alternatives, and it's open and people embrace it, unlike before in the past when it was shown that, we want to see you with your bump. We want to know that you're the one who's carrying this child, but it's not like that these days. People are open to alternative motherhood, and that's a good thing, I must say. That's a good thing.
Well, it is not... some people don't do it because they have fertility issues. Some people don't do it because they've passed a certain age. Some just choose not to carry pregnancy, maybe because of their busy lifestyle or because they don't want
their shape.
They don't want their figure and their shape to be altered in any way by the fact that they want to carry pregnancy. But the morality of it is, if you do want to carry a child by surrogacy, or you want to be a mother to a child by surrogacy, where do you draw the line between what is acceptable
and what is not? Or are there even legal backends in our society like this? I mean, who draws up these contracts? Is there a fee attached to it? Is there a coverage for you? I mean, how do you know that when I contract you to have my baby for me, when it's time, you would willingly hand over my baby to me?
And how do you also go in search of who you want to carry your child? You see, there's so many factors. There's so many factors. There's so many questions to be asked. But for you to arrive at that point where you want to be a mother by surrogacy, there must have been deep research, deep thoughts. Is it because I don't want to alter my shape? Is it because I want a designer baby? Because that is another, it's another reason some people may, or is it because I want a genius? So I want a professor to be the donor, and then I am, I'm in the corporate world, and I want to have a child that is of high intellect. We will be back talking, because this is the Amazons, and these are some of the things we shy away from. It's happening in our society, motherhood by surrogacy, designer babies. You want to have the sex, a particular sex, you can also still arrange that through surrogacy. We will be back talking when we bring our guests who are experts in the field of surrogacy and fertility after the break.
Hey, tell them. They told me you are the best around here.
What can I do for you, sir?
I want my own very, very simple. I don't want any shine. If I see any shine.
Actually, I'd love some sequins on my skirt. And I don't like any frills. I beg, I want frills on mine. But it must not be too tight.
Tight! That tight now, that is what I want. And the transition.
Oh, you know what? I want a gown.
Me too. I want to come to one.
You don't want GMS and this for coming. Hey, did you capture all the information?
Of course not.
Actually,
Fantastic.
I give my customers what they love because everyone has their unique style. So why should they wear the same thing? Just like MTN for me, which gives unique data and recharge offers just the way you like it. Just dial *121# and turn up great offers every day.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Does Pick now have Pick 456?
Yes, Mom. It's for Bella.
Why does she have her own milk?
Mama, she's still growing, especially her brain. She needs the right nutrients to help her grow strong and smart.
Aha!
90% of brain development happens in the first 5 years of life. Like plants need certain nutrients to grow, kids need the right nutrients to grow up strong and smart. Peak 456 with DHA is specially formulated for children 4 to 6 years old to support brain development. Get them ready for what's ahead with Peak 456 with DHA to help them grow up strong and smart.
Now available in new pack and 16-gram sachet.
What if, when the baby is growing, she's going to be asking the brother-in-law, come and touch my tummy, and he's feeling the kicking of my baby?
When people want to use donor egg or donor sperm, they give specifications. I want the nose to be pointed. I want a fair person.
Really?
I want someone with a gap tooth. Sometimes I'm like, seriously.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, it's the Amazons. My name is Lilian Imoni, and today on the show we've been talking about fertility and alternative motherhood. We have in the studio with us today the very energetic, ever young Mrs. Tola Ajayi. She is a fertility, sex, and relationship counselor, and we also have the psychedelic Jphanna Adeyileka. She is the MD of Let's Face It with Joe, and she's also a controversial human relations expert. Am I correct?
Is that correct?
Go straight to the questions.
Mrs. Ajayi, in this part of the world, we frown at infertility is questioned. To now think that another woman will carry another woman's child, how do couple or whoever wants a child by surrogacy, how do they arrive at making this decision?
Surrogacy is not something that is easily acceptable, but sometimes that's the only way out for some people, especially when they have some medical conditions. But for some people, it's like a social decision. I don't want my figures to be altered. I want someone else to carry my child. It's either way, it's not an easy decision. It's not.
Joe, I want to ask you this. You know, you deal a lot with marriage counseling, relationships. For a couple who have decided that this is the route they want to go in having a child, how do they begin to have this conversation? More especially if it's the man who has been found to have this medical condition. How do you bring the conversation up as a woman to look, you know, I know that we are going through this. Can you explore this option?
I believe that couples should be communicating. And, you know, our culture doesn't encourage people to openly say, I have a problem. I have a very low sperm count. I cannot produce children naturally. Hence, that is why you need to seek professional advice first. And once you and your husband have discussed this and you've agreed that, look, we want children, but we can't have it naturally, what do we do without making the man feel as though he's totally inadequate? You have to be gentle with your words. You have to give it time, because really every man, especially the African man, wants to believe that he is capable of fathering children naturally. So You don't necessarily have to, I wouldn't advise you get family too involved. But then you can have professionals such as...
But what about in the case where the family is aware of the inadequacies of the man, and they actually now brought the subject to the wife that, okay, so we know our son, our brother has this issue, it's a family thing that we must keep within ourselves, we don't want to expose. Why don't you allow someone in the family to be the one that is bringing the sperm that we can match with yours, but somebody else will carry this child.
So you're talking of an example, maybe that the brother of the husband could be the sperm donor to his wife. Wow. Some may say, why don't they just have an affair and quietly produce a child instead of going through all the expense of IVF or something like that?
Well, in surrogacy, there is what we call traditional surrogacy, and there is the gestational surrogacy. The traditional surrogacy is what you're trying to explain, in which the husband's sperm or the donor sperm, as it were, the lady who is going to be the surrogate is going to use her own eggs. So most times what they do is to inseminate the lady. It might not even be the process of IVF. It might just be intrauterine insemination if the lady is young and all the other parameters are okay. So she can just get inseminated with the sperm, either with the husband or the donor sperm. That's the traditional surrogacy. In that case, she's genetically, related to the child because they're using her own eggs. But in gestational, the person is just the carrier. We're not using your eggs and you don't have any connection with the baby. So you are just carrying for them. When the baby is born, drop the baby, collect whatever allowances you're being given.
So if I can come in, what are the chances of maybe the wife now falling in love with her brother-in-law? Because at the end of the day, if it's the transfer of sperm into the uterus of the brother-in-law into the sister-in-law, how about as that baby
is... That's not surrogacy. That's using donor sperm for the woman.
Yes.
That's not surrogacy.
But we are talking of the brother-in-law, the sperm, because her husband is incapable.
Okay.
We're talking of injecting the sperm into the sister-in-law. What if, when the baby is growing, she's going to be asking the brother-in-law, come and touch my tummy, and he's feeling the kicking of my baby? What are the chances that this could form an actual relationship over time?
Well, like I was just saying, that's not surrogacy. It can be surrogacy if we can say surrogacy if the daughter-in-law, the sister-in-law also is unable to carry pregnancy herself.
Okay.
So in that case, she's not the one carrying the pregnancy. Okay. Because if it's surrogacy, there must be someone carrying pregnancy for the commissioning couple.
Okay,
that's surrogacy.
Maybe I should put it this way. Okay, the woman who is the sister-in-law is not going to carry the pregnancy, but the sperm of the brother-in-law is matched with her eggs and implanted into someone else's. Mm-hmm. So in due time or in due course, whose child is that child that has been conceived or carried by this surrogate?
It's the brother-in-law's child, because the husband himself, the sperm cannot be used. So it actually is the brother-in-law's child and the lady's child. That's why it's difficult for people to actually use family
sperm,
because that can happen. That can happen. The guy comes into the house and plays with the child. Normally, the man can come to the house like uncle and just plays with the child. And the woman or the husband feels that, maybe one day he's going to claim this child. The child is, the child leans on him and emotions sparks. No. some people, that's the only reason why they will not use family.
For those who come to your facility for surrogacy, do they come with specifics? Like, okay, this is who I want.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
It's tall and handsome. I want, a genius. I want someone who is a professor, someone who is into, come with some specifications of what they want.
For a surrogate is someone carrying. Actually, you don't need all the specification at all. The only thing you need is the person can carry pregnancy.
To full term.
But what you are asking happen when people want to use donor egg or donor sperm.
Okay.
They give specifications. I want the nose to be pointed. I want a fair person.
Really?
I want someone with a gap tooth. Sometimes I'm like, seriously, why don't you just focus on getting pregnant? Why don't you just focus on getting pregnant than specifics? Yeah. But some people will tell you, that's exactly what I want.
Can I ask you, how does this look when you think of normal procreation? Those of us who can become pregnant, we get what we are given. So how does it look? Maybe spiritually, if I may say so, how does it look when we are now designing our own babies?
Designer babies.
Well, not necessarily designing. For instance, okay, let me say this. When people come to the clinic and they're asking for specifics, they don't have a choice in the person you're bringing to them per se. The things that they can talk about are the physical things that can be seen. Because for instance, if you're using donor eggs, we'll ask you to bring your passport photograph to match you with someone so that you are fair in complexion. We'll get someone who is fair in complexion to give to you as a donor.
If that's what you want?
That's what you want.
Okay.
But some people, even as you are fair, they say, I want a dark person because all my siblings are dark. I'm the only fair person in the family. So they have different requests. I don't see it as designing, sort of.
So my own question will be two in one. Number one, how do you verify the medical history of the donor?
The donor or the surrogate?
The surrogate medical condition, the donor in the case where the man and the woman are not the actual donors for the surrogates.
Okay.
And then what is the financial implication?
There are basic tests that we do for the donor and also for the surrogate, because for the surrogate, we want to be sure that she's fit to carry a pregnancy. The uterus is okay. She doesn't have any medical condition that can disturb the pregnancy. For instance, if she's hypertensive, for instance, and she gets pregnant, that might be a challenge. So we want to be sure that she's fit for the surrogate. And the donor, there are basic tests that we also run, like any other person that is going into fertility treatment, to be sure that our hormones are fine, no infectious disease like HIV, hepatitis, and all that. So we have different tests for them.
What about family history?
We also do. We also take family history. But in Nigeria, unfortunately, let me ask, when you got married, did you know anything about your husband's family extended? Most times, no, we don't. In their own case also, we try as much as possible to get, the information that we can get from them without them knowing what we need it for. So most of the time we get to know a lot of things about them. Like sometimes you just have to say, oh, you drink? You take some wine, not the question in a negative way. Yes, I do take wine
not
occasionally.
In an interrogative way, just like a conversation.
Yes. How many cigarettes do you take in a day or in a week or in a month or in a year? So things like that will make you to get some information from them. And any history of epilepsy, any history of mental illness in the family. When you ask mental illness, I want to tell you that if you ask 10 women, 9.5 will tell you no. The financial implication for the surrogate, of course, will be paid for the services. It's a gestational surrogate. Carrying pregnancy for someone is not an easy thing. So they will discuss, the commissioning couple and the surrogate will discuss on how much they think it's best to, to give to her. And again, they take care of their feeding throughout the period of pregnancy and all that. And it comes in stages, because what if she doesn't get pregnant? So when you're on treatment, this is how much we pay you. When you finish the treatment and you are pregnant, this is how much we'll pay you, and it's paid instrumentally or whatever. Some people will say, once the baby is born, then you can give me the money. And sometimes they also charge per baby. If you're carrying one, you're carrying two, or you're carrying three, this is how much you will pay. So if it's one, this is the amount. Every other addition increases by this amount. So sometimes that's the way.
It's been an interesting conversation talking about child surrogacy in our society today and its acceptability. And we will take a quick break, and when we return, our guest is a lawyer and he will discuss with us the legal aspects of child surrogacy. Stay with us.
Well, at the moment, there is no law backing surrogacy in Nigeria. Because it doesn't have enjoy that majority support, that's why it's been hanging.
Welcome back to the Amazons, where today we are discussing fertility, surrogacy, and alternative to motherhood. And joining us now is a lawyer, a family lawyer, because in the place of all this, whether adoption, whether fostering or surrogacy, there must be some, legal backing and legal coverage of fostering, of adoption, and now even surrogacy. Uchenna Mboji.
Mboji is the name. You got it right.
Yeah. I tried. That's because I was practicing it in my head, as you told me.
Yes, you got it right.
Welcome to the Amazons.
Thank you very much.
Where is the place? Is there a place for surrogacy in the Nigerian law?
When you say place, do you mean is there a law
that
backs it up?
Is there a law?
Well, at the moment, there is no law backing surrogacy in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, there has been a national health bill and assisted reproductive technology, which is supposed to be passed in respect of surrogacy and other forms of reproductive assisted technology. So because it doesn't have enjoy that majority support, that's why it's been hanging. So it's been since 2016. So we hope that maybe it will be amongst the laws that will be passed under the National Assembly. But at the moment, there is no law.
So have you had cases, of parents and commissioning couples with the surrogates, fleeing with the child, or such cases similar to what we're talking about?
Fleeing with the child, no, but we've had cases. A case in particular, it was in Abuja, and the commissioning parents and the surrogate mother, which we actually assisted and drafted the surrogate agreement between parties. It's been 5 years now, and everybody has been happy. There hasn't been any issue, and we hope there won't be any issue in future.
So if you say there is no law for surrogacy in the Nigerian law now, what is the protection for someone who has contracted a surrogate, and the surrogate, after giving birth, refuses to hand over the child? How is that, where is the protection for that?
Like I said, there is no law, as you pointed out. This area of law, area of practice is quite problematic, okay? And when it comes to assisted reproductive technology and surrogacy, it's always pertinent for the parties to always hire a lawyer, a family lawyer or reproduction lawyer, to assist them in spelling out the agreements, the terms, so that at the end of the day, anyone who breaches the agreement, then the person will have redress in courts. There hasn't been any judicial pronouncement in respect of surrogacy. I mean, according to Lord Denny, he said, because nothing has been done doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. Otherwise, we'll remain in standstill. So if there is a decision, a pronouncement, or a first issue, then the court is there to protect whoever it's, is harmed in this process.
What would you advise? What do you think that the Nigerian lawmakers should do, to accommodate this law when it comes to surrogacy? What do you think they should do?
I've said it. This surrogacy is problematic. Okay, I think a separate law should be promulgated. Okay. A separate law should be enacted for surrogacy. Like in South Africa, they've gone past us. They have Children's Act. And by Section 1 of the Children's Act, they have spelled out surrogacy. Okay. But with this assisted reproductive technology bill, which has passed second reading, including National Health Amendment Act, a bill which is to protect surrogate mothers, IVF, even the commissioning parents and all that people involved. So in fact, it goes better. So I would advise the National Assembly or the State House of Assembly of each state, they can enact their law to protect these people.
As a family lawyer, if you were to make input into this proposed law, what are those key?
If I'm to make input, I would suggest that one, a fertility clinic should be registered in Nigeria. Anyone who wants to undergo such reproductive assisted technology has to undergo it with a clinic that is registered under the law. Okay. And records are to be kept of any
transaction.
Yes. Then secondly, at the end of the day, the interest of the child is paramount.
True.
So the law should be put in place to protect every party, the surrogate mother, the commissioning parents, and the child.
Thank you so much, Uchenna, for giving us this legal overview, concerning surrogacy in Nigeria.
It's an emerging trend.
Yeah, it
yes.
is. It is. It's an alternative to, the adoption is quite different.
Adoption is different.
It's different.
We want to have our own biological child because we can't carry the fetus or the womb. Yes. So we just need this because of cultural, ethical, religious values and.
So it is safe to say it's a welcome development.
It is. It is. I applaud it.
Thank you so much, Uchenna.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
For coming. Well, you've heard it all here on the Amazons. We have talked about the issue that maybe many will shy away from discussing. It is an emerging trend in Nigeria. I mean, you want to have your own child. You want to be a parent to child or children. Now you can't do that as though you carry them yourself because they belong. They have been created by your own the uterus, by your own eggs and your husband's or your donor's sperm. So the child is as good as being carried by you. It's an alternative that those who are looking for children, if you can't afford it, I think this is something that you should consider, especially if there are medical reasons on why you cannot carry your own child or your own children. And that's been on the program. That's been our topic on the program for this today. I'm sure that you will follow the conversation still on our social media platform.
Yes, please. Our social media handles remain on Instagram. It's the Amazons Official NG. On YouTube, you can find us with this handle, the Amazons NG, and same thing for Twitter. It's the Amazons NG. The conversation continues.
So until we see you again next time. Bye-bye.